let's keep the secret to ourselves, not tell other people, because if I tell someone else, they're going to check in on me to make sure I'm achieving it. So by not telling the world, what you end up doing is not having those people hold you to account for the right reasons. People don't tell other people because they are scared of failure. They're scared of letting themselves down or other people down when they don't achieve that goal.
Hey guys, it's Lynn Podetti here of Outsourcing Angel, a virtual assistance company, and I'm the co-founder also at Dawn Media Productions, a video marketing agency. Now I'm here to help you build a business that gives you more free time to spend with your loved ones. Now in this video, you will meet Darren Finkelstein, known as the accountability guy. His job is to hold people accountable so they can achieve their goals. Now for 10 years, Darren worked for Apple as manager of commercial markets under the leadership of Steve Jobs. So he brings with him many years of experience working with high-performing individuals. Now, if you want to stop procrastinating and learn how you can hold yourself accountable to achieve your goals, then let's hear what Darren has to say. Hi, Darren. Good to see you today.
Lovely to see you, Lynn. I'm so honoured to be here with you.
So I just wanted to let everyone know. So Darren's actually my accountability coach who I got to work with through the DENT program. And I really love his title, accountability, because at the end of the day, I think I'm an accountable person. But I think having talked to Darren, he kind of says a lot of people think they're accountable, but they're not really accountable. So I'm like, you know what? This is actually a really great topic to talk about because I think we can always get better. And sometimes we lie to ourselves too, right?
So we do. Some people are in denial, you know, they think they're accountable, but the reality is they're not. But you're totally accountable.
I hope so.
You are wonderful. I wish everybody was cloned to be just like you, Lynn.
Thank you. And once again, Darren's this beautiful hearted person, very bubbly and positive. I knew that you guys would get along and love listening to him as well. So Darren, how did you come across being an accountability coach? What motivated you to become one?
I guess through my own entrepreneurial journey, if I go back in time I just started out in business. I was 23 at the time, so that was a lot of years ago. And through my own actions of not being held accountable, I lost my business. We went into receivership. It was horrible end. I lost my house. My whole world collapsed. And I realised afterwards when a bit more grey hair and a bit more maturity, I understood the role that accountability plays in the process. And if I'm not holding myself to account, then how can I expect others to? And so my business in those days would have been completely different had I have learnt accountability then and held myself to account.
So were you aware you were not being accountable, or you thought you were accountable and things went wrong and you only looked back and realised?
No, I just didn't have any concept of that, really, to be honest. I was really focused in one particular area of my business. And as a business owner, we've got to cover off so many different areas. And because I just focused on one area, I I just didn't bother getting involved in the other stuff. And that other stuff, which was the finance side of the business, if you don't look after that, then it can really go off the rails. And I was the living example of it going off the rails.
So when it comes to accountability, it's not just something that you promise yourself that you have to be accountable, but it's also just owning up to things that is your responsibility that you just you might blame someone else for.
Yeah, but accountability, we are responsible for things and we're accountable to people. So in business, right, and I'll use the example I started with, we talked about finances. As a business owner, I'm responsible for all elements of the business, not just the sales, not just the expenditure, but also the staff and all the other components that form the exercise. And if we are then not held accountable to people for that, then it can really go off the rails. So for my business and the example I gave, I didn't really focus on the finance. So I was making lots of sales because, I think I'm a pretty good sales guy, but I didn't worry about collecting people's payments. I just thought, well, that would happen naturally. And of course, it didn't happen naturally. And back in those days, we were going through the recession. I think the government said we had to have, and that recession, our interest rates then were like 22%. It was ridiculously high. And my little business couldn't sustain that. And because I wasn't holding myself to account and holding my team to account for that, we let it go, and that ultimately cost us the whole business itself.
And was that kind of like a slow kind of snowballing effect that eventually led to a disaster, or was it something that happened really quickly?
No, I found it, for me, it happened really quickly. There was and the business had been going for a few years. It was sort of something that I knew was bubbling along, and it just sort of got bigger. And as I got focused at other things and distracted from those important things, it just got to the point where it was kind of too late. And then it was like this big shock. And I remember really clearly, I had to stand down 10 people on Christmas Eve. I got shivers thinking about it. And that made me just realise, hang on a sec, this is bad for everybody. All those people and all their families were relying on me, and I felt like I let them down.
So through all that experience, what did you tell yourself in the future? Like, what would you not have done, not do again? Like, what would be some of the mistakes that you are like, I would never do that again?
To focus on all the elements of the business, not just focus on one. If I was bringing in a team of people, and I had a team of people that I was remunerating really well to get good quality people, I still had a role to play in holding them accountable for things, is sitting with them, reviewing things, getting feedback, listening to people's understandings and listening to people's findings in their particular areas, and not just letting them go, and ignoring them. Look at the details is the message I would give to people.
When it comes to that, this is when you're holding other people accountable. And how about for yourself in terms of your own goals? Have you learned anything over the years around holding yourself accountable for goals?
I have. I've learned a lot. And one of the really important things is when you're wanting to set goals is to make sure they're specific. Don't be vague. Be really clear on what that goal is. Mm-hmm. We need to make sure they're measurable. So we know, when I get there, am I going to know I get there? Am I going to be aware that I got to the destination I was going to? A bit like a GPS in a car. If you don't set the address, you're just going to go around in circles. So we want to make sure we know where we're going to get to and what success looks like at that point. I also want to set a goal that I know that I can relatively achieve. Saying I want to be an astronaut and fly to the moon is really not a goal. That's, that's a wish, but it's a dream. But the reality is, with my skill set, I can't do that. So set goals that you know that you can actually achieve. And what's really, really important is to make sure you set a time on it. If you don't set a time on it, then it'll just go on forever, and you'll lose focus. If you can set a goal and you can tell as many people as possible that I've got a goal and I'm going to do this by that date, then people want to share in your success. They want to check in on you. Lynn, how's that going? You said you were going to do it. How are you progressing? Because everybody wants you to be successful. So they'll check in on you. And the more people that can check in on you, the more chance you've got to really own that goal and make sure that you're not going to lose credibility by not achieving it, and make sure that everybody's on board and on your journey with you.
I totally get you, because that's actually my little secret, my hack. I would always tell people my dreams or goals, and sometimes it might sound too crazy for them and they're like, what the? But I do that just to prove to myself that I've said it, that I don't want to go back on my own words. But if I don't say it, then I feel like I could just trick myself and said, well, no one knows about it. Do you think that is the reason why people kind of hold back, don't tell anyone, because there's still that chance that no one knows and they can just fall back?
It is. It's like a secret, right? Let's keep the secret to ourselves, not tell other people, because if I tell someone else, they're going to check in on me to make sure I'm achieving it. So by not telling the world, what you end up doing is not having those people hold you to account for the right reasons. People don't tell other people because they are scared of failure. They're scared of letting themselves down or other people down when they don't achieve that goal.
Yeah.
So it works in reverse. The more people you tell, the better it is.
Yeah, that is actually what I try to convince my husband. Sometimes he's like, I'm not like you. I don't show off and tell people about my dream. I keep it to myself. But I would say, is that because you're scared that, you don't want to go through with it? And he's like, no. And do you think that sometimes people aren't even aware, like they kind of believe their own excuse?
They do. They get caught up in their own story, in their own reality that they create. But our reality is not other people's reality. And so my stuff that I'm dealing with is not shared with other people. And the more people you can share it with, the better connection you'll have with them, the more authentic it'll become, and the more real it is.
Totally. What type of clients do you normally work with? And then what kind of problems do they have? Before they go, okay, you know what, I need to have a coach like yourself. What's their goal or the outcome they're trying to achieve?
There's usually a couple of reasons. The types of organizations I work with or businesses are really entrepreneurial business owners. They're self-employed people. They may have work by themselves or they have a team, and it can be both a local team and also a virtual team. And the wonderful thing is that it's across all different industries. I've got people that are like yourself, they're a professional person. I've got people that own pubs. I've got dentists. I've got psychologists. What I've got, though, are a mixture of people that are really not sure they know where they're headed, and so they feel a little lost. And it's nice to be able to have someone with some good business experience that I bring to the table to be a sounding board for them and to hold them to account. I've also got people who are sort of living in a little bit of overwhelm. They're sort of feeling a bit like they're drowning and they can't really see the expression, the wood through the trees, that everything seems to be cloudy and they can't find clarity. And I love working with people like that because I'm really good at sort of digging through and getting to the heart of the issue.
Okay.
And then, of course, the last people, Lynn, are people that are really successful and they want to be more successful by juggling more balls in the air at once. And I think that the more I look back at my client base, the more it's evolving towards successful people who want to be more successful.
Wow. So when it comes to success, is it usually just financially more successful, or what is success in their world, in those successful people?
Yeah, it's interesting because it varies across different entities. I've got people who are looking to scale their businesses. They're looking to put on more staff and more team, and they don't know how to do that exercise. They're not sure of how to measure and delegate tasks within their organization. So they're like, they started as an entrepreneur with this great idea. They're getting some really good success, and they're really quite scared of letting go and sharing that amongst a team. And you must know what that's like.
I experience that with my type of clients.
Yeah.
And it's because they're overwhelmed.
Thing. Yeah. It's a really common thing. I also have people who set some really specific goals. Perhaps they're looking at writing a book. I'm working with a gentleman who's really famous on TV at the moment, looking to build a program. And it's a whole lot of different stages, and he loves the idea of having a sounding board, someone who he can share ideas with and can hold him to account for delivering those ideas. So everybody comes with their own thing. I have yet to find somebody where I went, I'm not sure I can help you. We're kind of linked.
Yeah. So it looks like you really help them identify what do they want to work on, and then you hold them accountable. But then now, what happens when they don't do what they do? Like, do you get your whip out and you start smacking them? Yeah, what happens? Because there's two sides. Paying you means that there's something you're paying, you got your money in the game, and you would do more because you don't want to waste your money.
Yeah,
the other side is that because I'm paying you, well, so what if I don't do my work because I'm still paying you? So, do you come across any of those?
I do. And we talk a lot about setting consequences for our actions. Those consequences are, remember at school when you didn't do your homework properly and you get detention or something like that. I wish that was the case. But a lot of these business owners get distracted by things, and they take on a task that they feel perhaps overwhelmed with. They take a task on that they don't really have the skill set, but they can't say no. They can't push back on it. So we really try and break down to understand why it is that they've said no, why it is that they haven't delivered on what they said they were going to do. Why did you miss that deadline? And we try and come up with a process and a system for it. So it's not as easy as setting a punishment. Punishments don't work on us adults because people are paying the money, and it's their choice ultimately whether they do the role, they do the task, they complete the action.
Okay. So how do you encourage the behavior along if, someone is just, sorry, I got busy, I missed out. Next week again, something else came up, and how do you actually get them to take action?
Yeah. So as a business owner, right, if we keep setting a deadline on something and we don't meet that deadline all the time, or we don't meet that commitment, then we need to understand why it was set as a commitment in the first place. So we spend a bit of time looking at their priorities, making sure that the task we're putting forward is actually the task that's the most important. Because if it isn't, you'll get distracted by something else. Therefore, it will actually fall off the list. And as business owners, we're trying to keep customers happy. We're dealing with different problems that arise, and it really is a juggling act. And so if you're going to commit to something, let's make sure you've got the time to do that task. So let's have a look at your diary, Lynn, and see when you're going to do that task for us. And we go right back to the basics of it and work them through step by step. And we focus on just what's the one thing you can do right now to make a difference with that task, rather than just focusing on the end, which could be a whole series of little one things that we're doing.
Yeah.
So to try and break it down into smaller chunks.
So what would you recommend kind of setting 3-month goals, or how long should the goal be? And how often should they be checking in with a coach like yourself to keep them on progress?
Look, it's a good question. Goals and the achievement of them, the time that we set, really vary depending on a whole lot of criteria. Regardless of what that term is, whether it's a 12-month goal or it's a 3-month goal, or I have to do this by next week, my program works on frequency. And we talked before about we're responsible for things, we're accountable to people. There's nothing better than knowing that I'm eyeballing you, Lynn, because we have a session tomorrow morning and you have a list of tasks you need to do. And you know what it's like. We set a date for those tasks, and then we sit down and we talk about what you achieved in terms of that. So it's really important to be able to have frequency. So all of my clients are on a program where I'm talking to them every week. Every week they know they've got a time with me, and just by the sheer notion of knowing that they've set a commitment to meet me and have that task done, the vast majority of people will do that. They don't want to let themselves down. They don't want to waste their money. They're all mature adults. They want good businesses. They want to really achieve some important stuff. So it's about frequency.
I like that. And tell me more about your quiz that you've got for people. Tell me more about it. Yes. Right behind there.
Right behind there. Yeah. So we touched on the fact before, and you said earlier on about some people don't even know they're not accountable. Most people, in effect, don't know what accountability means. We hear a little bit about it when the politician hasn't done something and a government or the media are trying to hold someone accountable and blame them for an event that went off the rails. Most people don't really know what accountability means. And so it's become such a word in business these days. It's flagged around the place. Most people think they're accountable. Yeah, of course I'm accountable, but the reality is they're not. And accountability simply means doing the things you say you're going to do and getting your team to do the same. Whatever that task is, I'm going to do this, Len. I'm going to meet you today for our podcast interview, and I'm here at that time because I've made a commitment to you and your audience. I'm not going to let you down for that. That's called being held accountable. So a lot of people don't feel they are accountable, and so I've created a quiz. It lasts about 4 minutes to complete. It's online and it's free. You can answer a series of questions to determine whether you're accountable or not, and I can measure your results against those of other entrepreneurs. And you'll get a report back to you for free that tells you the 5 steps in each of the categories that you can implement right now to make yourself more accountable and achieve more things.
And what was one of your top favorite questions you have in the quiz?
Top favorite question is clearly, do you have any big, hairy, audacious goals? What are the really big goals that you've had on top of your list for ages and you keep putting off, but as you get older, you really want to achieve it? Well, accountability can make you achieve that. And it's not hard to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Darren. So how else can people connect with you? Obviously, I will leave in the description below the link to your quiz that people can take. But how else can people find you?
Yeah, sure. Head to tickthoseboxes.com.au. It's my website. It's got all the questions there. You can grab copies of my book there if you wanted to order them. And Lynn, it's a special treat to all of your listeners. Use the discount code. It's Darren.
Or you can leave in the description if you don't have it already.
No. It's Take 20.
Take 20.
Take 20, you get 20% off the retail price of the book.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Darren, for your time. And I look forward to attending our next accountable session as well.
Yes, you better be there. Have you done all those things you said you were going to do?
Yes.
Sure you have. I look forward to it.
Thank you so much, Darren.
See you later, everyone.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'd love to hear in the comments below what goals are you trying to achieve right now in your business. And if you'd like to learn more about how to start and grow a business, then check out my next video here.